the consistent message that the government is sending to businesses, and businesses do need to take heed, is that businesses need to continue to transform, to redesign jobs, and to ensure that they develop the local workforce and take in foreign employees more to complement the local workforce in areas where there is a skills shortage. And this could range from the higher end, like in the tech area where we face a severe shortage, but also maybe some of the mid-range jobs where they are not so popular with Singaporeans. And I think this is one area that we need to be a bit more mindful, that we do not, through increasing the qualifying salary, make it too difficult for companies that bring in particularly some of the S-Pass holders to do jobs that is needed in Singapore, but which Singaporeans are not so inclined to do.
Over the course of the last 2 years, quite ironically, things have improved because you don't get access to so much manpower. You relook at your business process, and companies have been trying to survive on just a leaner manpower structure, and that in some sense have helped. So now those measures are going to help these companies to accelerate and continue that momentum, that we can actually do more with just less. I think there will be some adjustment period, and so that's why there's certain time that's provided for the changes to happen. You do need a local manpower to train. For example, I think we're quite excited that the mid-career guys can now pivot, and they're arranging for more attachment programs for mid-career people to fill up those jobs.
More pertinent to the issue at hand, really, and the bigger question that we have to ask ourselves, really, is that if the companies cannot hire a physical foreign worker to make up the workforce, does that mean that they will actually move to hiring somebody overseas? And this people, given COVID-19, and we can argue that COVID-19 is the key enabler to making businesses more digitalized in the current age. And that would actually mean that companies may be more incentivized, perhaps, to actually hire a foreign worker from overseas.
From a positive perspective, then we have time between now and January for businesses to get ready. That's definitely welcomed, to system changes and the other things that need to be worked through. The other merit, I suppose, from a consumer perspective, is some certainty around when it takes place, and also with it being 1%, then a less immediate, less painful increase in the first place. From a demerit perspective, from a downside, then now we have 2 increases or 2 steps. So business has to go through 2 cycles of system changes.
In a way, it was a bit of a pleasant surprise. I think a lot of people are saying that it may come earlier, and for it to come in only from January 2023 and in 2 steps is really very much welcomed by businesses, because it gives them more time to prepare for it, especially this period when they are under tremendous cost pressure. Electricity prices are up, logistic costs are up, supply chain is up. So in a way, deferring it by a bit helps the companies a lot, being able to cope over this period of heightened cost increases. The ITE and polytechnics are being given more resources so that they can help more SMEs in terms of innovation and transformation. And I think in our experience working with SMEs, linking them up with the polytechnics, with the universities, the ITE and the polytechnics are very well placed to help our SMEs with very practical solutions. Very often what the SMEs need is not so much the research part, but the development part, right? What we call the big D, rather than the big R type, because they need something that is closer to market. Because if you tell them, well, you invest in this, it's a 10-year payoff, it's quite hard for them to look at it in that sense. A big company may be able to, but for SMEs, they need something that if they invest in it, it needs a payoff in a shorter term for them to see the value in doing it.
I also operate in the innovation space, so I see quite a lot in the startup ecosystem. And that's very vibrant, right? So, financial technology, fintech, agri-tech, so advanced food startups, that kind of thing, pharma technology. So they're not SMEs in the sense that perhaps we might think about when we think about into the heartlands and that angle. But that's a very vibrant sector of Singapore's economy, and Singapore is a very popular place to come and do that for access to the financial capital and the investment dollars and the R&D and the skill set of Singaporeans in particular in helping to build those companies And I think that's a very strong area for Singapore that we will see more growth in.
We have broadly two groups. One was quite happy to be in gig work because of flexibility, they see it as a longer term thing. The other one is, I really want to transfer to something more permanent. So for these two group of workers, I think firstly we need to skill this current group who wants to stay inside. If things changes, can you maneuver? The second one is, can transitionary support be provided for those who wants to leave the system? Many of these workers invested money, usually on installments on buying motorbikes, PMDs. They structure their entire lives around gig work. They cannot just pack up and leave when the employment terms or the remuneration terms change. It's not so easy. And because they're stuck in this ecosystem, even when terms are not balanced, they continue to have to be stuck with it, which is a real problem.
There's an ongoing work stream on this. I'm part of the advisory committee on platform workers, and precisely looking at these issues. It's a tripartite effort, and it is not easy because the platforms, the workers all have different preferences. Even among the platform workers, some would rather have more take-home pay and no CPF. Some worry more about the longer term retirement adequacy and would like to have some CPF. So it's not easy to find something that can meet all of their different needs.
There's no one-size-fits-all policy for.
Yeah, so it's not easy. Yeah.
It's a transformation, a transition from carbon intensive to trying to decarbonize. Certain sectors will be very much affected. Oil and gas, we have very significant presence here. But at the same time, there are important opportunities that will open up, jobs that were not available before. So how do we manage that transition now? I think it's quite critical. I think that is job number one we need to do.
Another way to look at it is that we have to be more responsible when it comes to be more responsible in being green, because eventually if we do export goods to these countries, we may have to actually meet up to their green benchmark or framework, and that will be additional taxes if we do not meet their standards.
I think it's also important to remember not to view carbon tax in isolation, but in terms of the entire movement towards sustainability. Even without the carbon tax, businesses are under pressure from their investors, from their customers to be more sustainable, to be more green. And the carbon tax in a way helps to price in the cost of carbon emission in making so that companies can make the decision with it properly priced in. And I think it's also important to look at it not just in terms of sustainability in business, but to go beyond it to look at sustainability as a business. How can companies leverage on sustainability for growth and tap on the green growth opportunities in the region, so that in a way, by being a bit of a front runner, an early adopter, we can actually position our companies to be in a better position to help other companies in the region and to seize the opportunities as there is increasing awareness and demand for sustainability beyond in our region and beyond.